In the last video, I talked about how all of the success you want from your exercise and workouts boils down to a neurological code that your brain sends through your body, because essentially your body's a machine, your brain is a computer that controls the machine, and your mind is running off of like a software, if you will, telling the machine how it should behave. And everything you want from your exercise depends on that software and what's going on. Now, how do we use this in a practical application though, to actually make sure you're making success and progress in the next week, the next month, hell, for the rest of your life? Well, consider the chapter I have in my book on fitness independence, on what's really in charge of the condition of your body and what makes you change. Because we've all been told, right? It's about stress. You stress the body and it comes back stronger. It's not necessarily stress. If that neurological code never changes, it doesn't matter if you're stressed. Doesn't matter if you're working your ass off in blood, sweat, and tears. If that code doesn't change, you're not going to change. And it doesn't matter how hard you're working. But if you can change that code and make it a little more refined, then you can get better results even if you're not any more stressed or working harder. But we do need a certain type of stress, a certain type of, like, yeah, that's not quite right going on, which is what homeostasis is about. Because ultimately, homeostasis is what's in charge of your condition. Now, you look at homeostasis in scientific literature and stuff, it's usually about animals and their environment, or your body and the environment, or a cell in the environment it's in, and so forth. But ultimately, you have two forces. You got force A, you got force B. When the two are in balance and happy and hunky-dory, everything's great, wonderful. The only problem is nothing changes. As much as we love balance and achieving harmony and stuff, it doesn't elicit any changes in your body. If you're fat, you stay fat. If you're weak, you stay weak. But if you're strong, you stay strong. And if you're bigger, you get bigger. But if you want to make a change, you got to off-kilter things a little bit. So that's what we're going to do. You have your brain sending a signal back, and as I mentioned in the video yesterday, your brain sends a signal to your muscles, and your muscles send feedback back to your brain. What we're talking about is the balance between that signal and the feedback and the relationship between the two. So let's use closed squats from convict conditioning as an example. And if you want to get really good at progressive squats, I highly recommend you start squatting, if you're not already, with your knees close together. In fact, even pressing against each other at the bottom of a closed squat. It's going to make things a lot easier, much more effective, powerful, and so on. So let's use this example. You're like, okay, I am going to try and do these squats with my legs close together. So that's the signal that your brain has. You've got software, brain sends it to the muscles, say, guys, keep those knees together at the bottom of the squat. But let's say, for example, you drop down and your knees go and they spread right apart. That feedback goes back to your brain, and it's like Scotty in the engine room saying, I cannot do it, Captain, I'm giving her all she's got. And there's a disharmony here. It's like, wait a minute, I asked for one thing and I got another, and wait, hang on, this is off a little bit. This is what's gonna stimulate a change, because ultimately, Mother Nature doesn't care what you do or how you do it, but you've got to get back to homeostasis one way or another. So in this scenario, you got your brain and you got your body, the feedback, and it's off kilter, so you can get back to homeostasis one of two ways. Number one is you change your brain. So essentially you reset the code, and this is what happens when we start making excuses and whatnot. Like, I don't think keeping the knees together is really that important. My body doesn't seem to want to work that way. My limbs are too long. I am just naturally inflexible. We got all these excuses, but in other words, it's another way to say, okay, so when I squat, don't worry about the knee thing touching together, and we're back in homeostasis, and nothing is going to change. Nothing should, because the brain is sending the muscles a signal, and the muscles are sending it back saying, yep, we got it, all is hunky-dory. You want the second option if you want to change anything. So your brain sends that signal, the feedback comes back saying we can't quite do it. Don't make the excuses and whatnot. Say, keep sending the signal. Brain says, I don't care. Try again, try again, try. And this is very frustrating. It feels like we're not doing much, right? It's like I'm trying to do this and I'm not getting it, and I'm trying it again, I'm not getting it. But eventually, in order to get back to that homeostatic point, the body has to change. There's no two ways about it. It has to. You can't not change your body in that situation. The only thing is, be aware of where your mind is. Is it setting the code to a lower standard? I don't need to do that many reps. I don't need that range of motion. Technique's not that important, yada, yada, yada. to get back here. If you're here, you're never going to get any bigger. You're never going to get stronger. You're never going to get faster. Nothing's ever going to happen. You're just maintaining where you're at. So have a bit of a standard where you're asking your body for something and just keep asking it until eventually it happens. Maybe it'll happen in a week. Maybe it won't happen for a month or two, but keep asking it because eventually the body will match the demands of what your brain is asking. And that, my friend, is how you're actually going to get bigger, stronger, faster, and a lot more from your exercise. Thoughts down below. Be fit, live free.